Hey, everybody. It's time for one of our great shows today where we're going to do, I call it a Drummer Day. And when we call it Drummer Day, we have a premier drummer on. And today we're going to have one of my great friends and great musician and premier drummers, Thommy Price, who has a album out called Downtown Phantom, and we're bringing him on because we want to plug this album. The album, I had Thommy on once before when the album came out, but I want to tell people about it again. The thing, before we start, I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, my friend Larry Jaffe, co founder of Making Vinyl, and has a new book out called Record Store Days, and you should buy it. It's all about Record Store Days, a huge vinyl event every year. I want to do that, and let me lead in by saying that my co-hosts are Patrick Bamburak, who is a gifted musician, co-host, and producer of the show, and my partner Judith Salavetz. We're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame archival collection, and we're in the MoMA AIGA and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame archival collection together. And then I want to also mention that we've designed two Joan Jett and the Blackhearts albums we'll talk about later that Tommy's on. One called Pure and Simple, and the second one, Good Music. And then I want to mention one night in New York, I call it Drummers Night. There was a showcase for Zach Starkey, Ringo's son, and Thommy was there, and Clem Burke from the drummer for Blondie, and all of us got together for a photograph, and it's one of my favorite times of my life. I got to admit, Thommy,
I love that picture. Yeah, every once in a while it comes up, and
yeah,
I do that night.
Yeah, it was an electric night, I call it, right? And anyway, well, let's lead into this. So, Thommy, we're gonna bring up some things and you just talk about them. We want people to know about you. So we're going to start off from the beginning when you were, let's start with Scandal. Tell us about that area of your life.
Well, that really wasn't the beginning at all. I mean, Scandal was probably, it was just one of them stepping stone bands, but it was maybe the first big record I played on, like top 40 record, but I played with, Mink DeVille for many years before that. And then a band called Flame that Jimmy Iovine produced for 2 records on RCA Records. But Scandal was dear to me because it was, I spent a lot of time with them people on the road. We broke the Goodbye to You record on the road. We spent about 11 or 12 months touring for that record. On the road, opened for everyone from Hall and Oates to Adam and the Ants, everyone back then. We were on. They put us on the road for touring, and that's how that Goodbye to You record broke. And then we went right into the studio to make the Warrior record.
Right. And yeah, well, it was when I saw Goodbye to You, I said, what a group. I said, this is like a hot group. Something's going to happen. You know what I mean? You had that whole vibe, you know. You, of course, played on one of my favorite MTV videos, Rebel Yell. And in that course, you were involved with Billy Idol, and you were on that album, right?
Yes, Rebel Yell. Yes. I actually, the Warrior album and Rebel Yell album were being made at the same time.
Wow.
In 1983 to 84, probably mostly 83, but both records were being made at Electric Ladyland in the West Village. So I was actually making both records at the same time, doing Scandal tracks downstairs and then running upstairs, doing a couple of tracks with Billy and Steve and Keith Forsey, and that went on for about a month or two, something like that. I mean, I couldn't even, by the time the Rebel Yell record was done, they hadn't even been finished doing the Scandal record. So Billy already asked me to do some live shows with him. And you know, I had to call Andy Newmark to finish the Scandal record for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So maybe one or two songs. I think Anton Fig played on one song, and then
Oh, great.
and then Andy Newmark played on the other. But yeah, but because I just didn't have the time. You know, Billy wanted me to do these live shows, and Rebel Yell had been getting a lot of attention, and all of a sudden I was on the road with Billy. So that's when I made the move from that one band to the other.
And then we're going to get into, of course, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. 28 years you played with her, Thommy.
Oh, a lot longer than that, my friend.
Yeah. So we're in 3 decades here, you know. I mean,
talking about 37 years.
Oh, my God.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I started making Joan's records in 1985.
Oh, my God.
So before I even started touring with her, I was already making her records.
Well, how did that happen in 1985?
She had done a movie with Michael J. Fox called Light of Day, and they were doing out in California. Kenny Laguna had called me up to come out and play on the soundtrack for Light of Day, and that was actually the first record I recorded with her. And then after that, I kept making her records, but didn't actually start touring with her till 85 or 86 maybe. You know, after we did the Up Your Alley album with Hate Myself for Loving You.
The Pure and Simple album, that was interesting for us. There were 2 album covers that were dynamic, the one in USA and the one in Japan. But the album itself was incredible. You were on it. It was a great photo shoot. In my life, it's one of the great photo shoots that happened on that album. Tell us about that album, by the way.
Pure and Simple was a great record. It was a lot of unheard songs on that record that we used to play live all the time. And that record should have got a lot more attention than it did.
Yeah,
I think we recorded Pure and Simple was recorded in Vancouver with Jim Vallance. Jim Vallance was co-writing with Joan and Kenny, and and we did the whole record at Jim Valance's studio, the Armory, in British Columbia.
George Holst was the photographer, and I always remember that. And then you were on Good Music, right? You were on Good Music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything after that. Every record after the soundtrack, I recorded up until the last record, which was the Wanda Jackson record we did a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
So I did everything after that from 85 on.
And then you did an album on CBS record called Lights On.
My solo record.
Yeah.
Me and Kasim Sultan had wrote a few songs together. Kasim Sultan, the bass player from Utopia. I grew up with on Staten Island. He was like one of the first musicians that I started playing with and hanging out with when I was like 13 years old on Staten Island. And we had, little bands together. But Kaz and I, we did so many records together with Ronnie Spector and Joan, and we did the Price Sultan record. We did a lot of work together, Kazim and I. But the Price Sultan record, we had wrote a few songs and had gotten signed to this management company called the Entertainment Company. And they used to manage Barbra Streisand, and I think maybe I don't know, some sisters band. I can't remember. But they didn't have much rock and roll on their roster. But Anyway, so they got us a deal on CBS Records with these 2 songs that we wrote. And Kazma and I wrote a bunch more songs, and we released a whole LP on CBS Associated Records. And I think it came out in late 86, 87. And I was actually playing guitar and singing. I wasn't even playing drums. I mean, I recorded all the drums on the record.
Yeah.
But I hired another drummer because I'm a frustrated guitar player, really. You know, I love playing guitar. It was my first instrument when I was a kid. Yeah, it gave me the chance to get up front, because I sang everything on the record. Kazm sang some songs, but I sang the majority of the songs on the record. And so we did a bunch of shows around New York and Boston, Connecticut, the East Coast run, and that was it.
Right.
It was fun. I got it. And then the label dropped me. So.
Oh God. No.
Well, yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Plus, I was a mess back then anyway, so it probably was best.
So you had an EP called Sex. I love this title, Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that record is that was a bunch of years later. I think I started doing that like around 2000 maybe, or 99, 2000. Just wrote some songs. I had a little studio set up in my East 2nd Street apartment in the Village, in East Village. I had a little 8-track analog something, and I wrote and recorded all the music, everything there, and then took the tracks, brought them into a studio, and put live drums on them.
Right.
So but the Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll, and then I started playing around New York City with that band too. I got some local players. Did the same exact thing. I had a little Dave Clarke 5 kit set up where I stand up.
Yeah.
Play the drums, but I go back and forth. So I had another drummer playing.
Wow.
And then I have this small little drum set on the side, kind of like a Stray Cats kind of drum set on the side. And with my guitar still strapped to me, I'd play a little drums and then go up to the front and sing. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We did a bunch of great shows, CBGBs we played a few times, and before it closed, Arlene's Grocery, all the local, little haunts in Arlene's Grocery. Yeah. So all the little places in the East Village. And it was fun, that project.
Yeah. And now your lineup, you played with so many great musicians. Who's in front of my apartment an hour ago is Glenn Klausner says hello.
Oh, Glenn Kidd. Yeah.
Glenn Kidd. I'm sorry.
I know him from Glenn Kidd.
Yeah, that's it.
Everybody knows him as Glenn Kidd, Spencer.
Yeah. So
that was fun. I just started doing remote recording from my home now here in Texas.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first projects that I did, and we were really happy with it, how it turned out. He had some great players. He had his brother Phil Fight, Billy Idol's first bass player.
That's right.
Tommy Mandel played keyboards. He had some great people. He had Michael Frondelli mixed the song, who is he was a staff engineer at Electric Lady, and worked on the Rebel Yell record with me.
That's right.
So he had him mix the record, but it wound up coming out really good, that Glenn thing.
Yeah, so he played it for me. It's going to come out, and we're looking forward to hearing it. And Judith and I did his CD for him, actually. He lives down the block, by the way, Tommy, from us.
Nice.
But you played with one of my favorites, Mink DeVille. Tell us about that.
Man, that taught me a lot. That was the foundation of my the rest of my life, I think, in music.
Wow.
Because before I met Willie and started listening to his songs and got into his band and spent so much time with them in Europe, I was one of these regular Who, Led Zeppelin, that was the
Yeah.
music that I grew up on. So
Mhm.
I was a rock and roll rock drummer.
Right.
As soon as I started hanging out with Mink DeVille and listening to his music, how he gets inspired, what kind of music, the hardcore dub reggae music he used to listen to, it
Mm.
changed my life. I mean,
Wow.
I never turned back. His music was totally inspiring for someone like me. I was still very, very young and very, I was still soaking stuff up musically.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Mink DeVille was a big, big, huge part. Willie DeVille, not so much the band, but we had an incredible band, by the way. Probably his best band he ever had. And we spent all our time overseas, in Europe. We did European tours, and we'd have the same promoter as the Ramones and the Heartbreakers, and we'd run into those bands all the time. In Paris, in London, we'd see Johnny, and so on. And they were all friends. Like we'd see each other, and run into them, and it was great to get a little piece of home after being, you're sometimes you're away from home. You're so far away.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long you've been away, but you just feel like you've been away forever. And
Right.
then all of a sudden you see a little bit of New York City. And it puts a spark in you. It puts a spark up your butt, and it's wow. I mean, I remember one of the nights, we were the Ramones was playing in La Palace in Paris, the same theater that we were playing the following night. We had the
Wow.
night off,
Right.
so we all went to see them.
Wow.
And we had already been on the road for a couple of months all over Europe, Germany, and Spain and everything. And first thing we saw was we opened the door. They were already playing, and I saw that big logo of the
Yeah.
United States logo. Their the Ramones logo in the back,
Right. Right.
and they have nothing but red, white, and blue lights. And I was like, "Yes, I'm home."
That's where they were home. That's great.
Like after being out of New York City for a long time and having a bagel from New York or a slice of, East Village pizza.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
It was brilliant.
yeah, and the Ramones, I designed some album covers for them. They were really
I know
one of
you
the-
did.
and they were really a stepping stone for a lot of great groups, right? I mean, they had.
Of course they were, and they still are.
Yeah, they still are. They're still there in life. I mean, big time. And tell us about now. You played with Mike, one of my favorites, Michael Monroe, "Not Faking It" album, right? You
Yes.
played on that. That's a
Yes.
great. I like him a lot. We had Steve Conte on last interview, and he played obviously with Michael Monroe a lot of albums. Can you tell us about that album, or how?
Well, it was just kind of a one-off thing with Michael. He had gotten some of my friends to play on his record. Oh, his girlfriend at the time was working at CBS Records, and she had contacted me through CBS Records because that's right around the time Chasm and I were doing the Price Sultan record.
Right.
And so somehow she got in touch with me through the label and asked me to meet with Michael. And of course, I knew who he was from Hanoi. And he played some songs for me. He was writing with a friend of mine, Phil Grandy, a great guitar player, co-writing all these songs, and they were great songs. And I can't remember what label he put that record out on, but he had a budget, and it was great, right? We had so much fun. Kenny Aronson played on the record, I think.
Right.
Pretty sure, yeah. But yeah, it was the Not Faking It record. And then later on, I wound up going to Japan with him and doing a tour. But it wasn't for that record. It was he asked me to come and do a Hanoi Rocks tour.
Wow.
So, yeah. But I mean, we probably still did songs from the Not Faking It record too.
Now you played with the Psychedelic Furs on Heaven.
I did that whole. I did 3 songs on that Mirror Moves. I think it was called Mirror Moves on the Psychedelic Furs. Yeah, I did. Well, the single is Heaven. That's the one I played on.
Yeah.
And then what other one? I have it on my wall here.
Oh, really? Cool.
Gold Records, are you referring to?
Yes.
You should show it to us. Oh my God. Oh, look at that. That's incredible.
Can you see the Psychedelic Furs record?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow, man. Oh, cool, man.
Look at the others.
That's
got a lot of Scandal.
A lot of Billy's.
A lot of Billy Idol.
A lot of this is my studio I'm in. So.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's great. Great setup. So you play with Blue Oyster Cult, right? Is that right?
I did one of their records. I think 2 of their records.
Wow.
The Imaginos and then Club Ninja. Yeah, wow. 2 records with Blue Oyster Cult.
Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite musicians, Steve Lukather. I love Steve Lukather.
Yeah, that's kind of, it was one of those records I did. I think Steve Stevens brought me in on that project.
Wow.
And I can't remember if I did the whole record. I think I only played on a few songs, like some select songs Steve had me play. But I'm pretty sure Steve Stevens was involved in that. The same with Rick Ocasek. Steve had gotten that gig. Rick hired him to do some work, and Stevens brought me in on that one also. So it was I can't remember which Rick Ocasek record it was. Paradise something
okay.
Paradise.
Okay. Yeah. And then you played with Ron Wood.
Yeah.
Ron. Who?
Yes and no.
Oh, wow.
It was one of those nights that we were hanging out, me, Billy, him, Steve, getting in trouble probably. He had the bright idea of calling somebody at the Hit Factory to let us in and do like late night recording.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's cool. We did. We entered the studio on Monday and left on a Friday.
Wow.
Something stupid like that. It was the 80s and New York City, and it was fabulous.
Now you play with Debbie Harry. This is what she was doing in the single thing with her.
I did Debbie's one of her solo albums.
Right.
Deaf, Dumb, and Blonde.
Okay. Wow.
And I think we did a Saturday Night Live.
Oh wow. Yeah.
From that album, she was promoting the album, and she used the same band that did the record, and we did an SNL for that single from the record.
Next on
I think
our
list, was French Kissing in the USA was the record.
Oh, French Kiss. Yeah, that was a single.
Yeah.
French Kiss. Yeah. Roger Daltrey.
Yeah, that was something. Ricky Byrd brought me in on that.
Oh, great.
Ricky Byrd, Jones, the original Blackhearts guitar player, had started writing songs with Roger Daltrey after he left the band, and asked me to come in and record his one of his solo albums, and that was pretty amazing. Because I grew up on the Who. I'm a Who fan.
Right.
Coming into a studio and putting those headphones on and hearing that voice.
Wow.
He was doing. he was doing, guide vocals to get the band through the, the tracks so we can learn the songs. And I'm hearing this voice in my head that I grew up on. And I'm like, hey, somebody pinch me, please.
And of course, I got to mention Peter Wolf on that list.
Why would you mention him?
I love him. I love him as a musician.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I worked with Peter.
Yeah. And I think there's a longer list, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, but it'll take up the whole show. So we're going to go right into the album. Let's get into the album, Downtown Phantom. And what made you do this album, Thommy? What was the inspiration?
Well, my partner at the time, my writing partner, Johnny Rayo, who I grew up with on Staten Island with Chasm. We grew up with the same age. He's a guitar player, played with David Johansen after David left the Dolls. Johnny Rayo was his guitar player throughout all the David Johansen incarnations. And anyway, but Johnny, we always keep in touch. He's one of my best friends. And he sent me some songs he was writing. And I said, well, let me live with them for a little while. Maybe I could put some lyrics to them, put a melody to some. He just sent me music.
Right.
And in a couple of weeks, we had about 4 or 5 songs. And we figured, let's keep going. And so we kept writing and started recording the Downtown Phantom thing. Yeah.
And you have quite a band on here. You got my friend Joey Vasta Jr.
Sure, Joey.
Yeah, you got like really good Johnny Rad.
That's Johnny Rayo.
Rayo, I'm sorry. Gary Corbett.
Keyboards.
And you produced the album with Johnny Rayo. And it's a really great album. I mean, the production's really great, very strong, great songs. I don't know, man. It's like it should be out there. It should be out there.
It should be.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the songs on it. Some Strange, Toxic, Here I Am. A long list here. Anything to say about some of the songs on the album, Thommy?
Some Strange pretty much explains itself. I don't know if you listen to the song. It's about getting some strange outside of your normal thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Toxic. I like Toxic a lot too. Toxic.
Yeah. That there are a few songs on the record that I didn't write with Johnny. Tangerine is one of them. The really poppy songs are the ones I write on my own. Johnny seems to get a little bit more involved, with production and chords. Me, I just write simple pop songs. But and there's a great song at the end called "You Can't Make Somebody Love You."
It is a good song. One? Yep, I love that one. Yeah, great song.
I wrote that with D.L. Byron. I wrote that with D.L. Byron, the guy who wrote "Shadows of the Night" for Pat Bennett's Arm.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, he is a great songwriter. And I've been making his records forever. All his records I've been on.
Breaking Out Missouri.
I mean, they're inspirational songs. There's some songs on the record that are perfect. That would be perfect for movies. Breaking Out of Missouri is one of them, and Sitting on Gold is another one. Can't get too deep with lyrics because some of them are not really about anything. They're just you have a good phrase, you have a good line, and it sings good, and when you're singing it, your mouth makes some cool sounds saying them words, and it works. It's, you know,
Yeah, so
doesn't
it's
matter
like
what it means.
you're right. It's like living with the music, living with the
Yeah.
music. And I want your wife Stephanie's a credible person, and a great inspiration for you.
No, she's a great, she's my partner, so
Yeah,
she keeps me grounded, my girl, and she helps me. She's a huge giant part of Priceless Productions. She runs all my everything I do. It's all good. Everything goes through her before I even see it. All my
wow, yeah,
work, all my sessions, all my publicity, whatever I do, it goes through her. And I have a buddy here that I'm working with, Matt Medallion, and he's, I think you guys have already talked.
yeah.
You
Matt's
talked
great.
with Matt, right?
Yeah, great guy,
Yeah,
Matt.
he's a lifesaver. When I moved here, he's somebody that helped me, get introduced to, brought me around to certain recording studios in San Antonio, introduced me to some producers here. And I got hired. I started getting work the first year I was here. From I was doing a lot of session work, and I still am.
Yeah,
But it was all because
wow,
of Matt. Matt was really he was responsible for everything that I'm doing
wow,
here. He put me in
yeah,
touch with everyone I know here. He put me in
great.
touch with. So he's a godsend to me, Spence.
How is the music clubs there? Tell us about music clubs where you are around you.
They're great. They're like the old New York clubs. I mean, they're still going playing full-fledged rock and roll here, man.
Wow, wow.
It's like it's like New York City in the 90s or the 80s even.
Well, you
Wow.
say here. Where is here exactly?
What's that?
Where is here? You say
San
you're
Antonio,
San Antonio. So
Texas.
what was it that brought you there? What took you from New York to San Antonio?
Well, my wife is from here. This is where she's originally from.
Ah,
This is
that
where
explains it.
this is where I met her. 30,
good.
25 years ago.
Wow.
And she still has family and friends. She knows the whole city.
Right.
And it was the height of the pandemic when we left New York. It was the beginning of the pandemic. So I was looking to purchase something anyway, some property. And so this was an easy move for us because we knew exactly what we were getting into. It wasn't, it wasn't any, we weren't going into this blind. So, if I stayed in New York, because I had stopped working with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, so and I was living in Gramercy Park. So, my rent was pretty high. So it was a financial move too for us.
Sure.
Mhm.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, but it was one of the best moves that I ever made because, I'm 45 minutes from Austin, and that's where
Oh yeah.
I just did South by Southwest, a couple of gigs up there. So I drive up there, and I do most of my work is in Austin. All the sessions I'm just starting the new Mickey Gilley record in a couple.
Oh, great. Oh, that's great. I worked with the Fabulous Thunderbirds on the Tough Enough album.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Vaughn, I have to tell you, Jimmy Vaughn, they talked, oh man, they would just talk about Austin. They would talk about the clubs there,
Clubs are great there, man. There's 6th Street is really, really incredible. It's like, it's a strip with all these great rock and roll clubs. You can go there any time of the day and see a great band or a great country band, whatever.
Yeah.
But San Antonio too. I mean, San Antonio. My wife ran an art gallery here for local artists, painting gallery, and I mean all over my house. We have local artists painting, but the local art scene here in Austin is amazing. It's just truly amazing. It's such an untouched part of the country. It's incredible.
So let me ask you, and you younger, when you were a kid, did your family? What was your relationship with music and your family, father and mother, Thommy?
Well, I come from a musical family, so my dad played piano.
Mm.
My grandfather played piano. There was always music around my house, so it was always, happy. And my older brother, Stan, he was 10 years older than me. Was just getting into the Animals and the Rolling Stones in the '60s, and that's where I got my inspiration from. Listening to all that stuff was from my brother.
Wow.
I listened to all his records, and I
Mhm.
grew up on really soul music. R&B music was a big thing for me. I loved all the blue-eyed soul bands, like the Righteous Brothers and the Young Rascals, you know. And it was great. It was amazing. It was a great time. Growing up in Brooklyn, New York in the '60s was just incredible.
It's interesting. I saw an interview with Amy Winehouse, and she mentioned that her brother was a big influence on her. Like she would go to her brother's records and listen to them.
Sure.
Sounds like you had the same thing with your brother. You know what I mean?
Exactly, Spence. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Same thing. I mean, I wound up, after he moved out of our house, my older brother, I wound up taking all his records, and I had them up until a few years ago, which I had them stored in a storage space in New York City, Chelsea mini storage,
Yeah.
and it got broken into, and they stole all my
Oh,
vinyl.
Oh
yeah.
no!
Oh my
I
God.
have a storage locker there.
Yeah, it
We
was
have it. Yeah.
horrible. I mean,
Storage.
I had these records from like the early '60s that still had my brother. My brother used to put his name up on the top, like just like drawing Stan, Stan. You know, it was kind of tough looking, but he had them on every single one of his of the covers to the LPs, and I had them up until a couple of years ago, and then they disappeared from
Oh my God.
one of the storage.
That's horrible. Let me ask you a question. How did you pick drums? What was the inspiration to play drums?
Through listening to these records. That's how
Right.
I started. Through listening to Dave Clarke Five, and my brother was playing, Paul Revere and the Raiders, and Dave Clarke Five, and the Animals, and they were all drum heavy records to me.
Right.
Like
Right.
Dave Clarke
Right.
Five was all drums.
That's
You know,
right.
you know, stuff like the McCoys. Hang on Sloopy is all drums. So,
But
and he was playing those 45s in my house, and all I heard was drums from that, and that's what just grabbed me. I used to stand in front of. My dad had a little Victrola kind of thing with a speaker in it, and I used to stand there with my hands on it and listen to the drums.
did you have any formal training,
No,
Tommy?
none
No
whatsoever.
formal training. So you had mentioned also you were frustrated guitar player.
Oh yeah.
So the guitar didn't grab you playing a guitar the way drums did. It was like
Well, I
drums.
figured out somewhere along the way. I figured out that I was better playing. I was a better drummer than guitar player.
Right. Right.
But I still continue to play guitar. I write my music on guitar,
Wow.
and I own a lot of guitars. But
Well,
to
certainly
this day,
if
I
there
always
ever existed a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Drummers Hall of Fame, you certainly would be in that one because
That's right. Yeah.
one of the greatest drummers I think that around today in our world. I think.
Yeah. I gotta bring up the interviews that I've had on radio before and our show. I was very gravitated to drummers. I interviewed Carmen Appice. I interviewed Simon Kirke. I interviewed God, I know I interviewed you before, Chris Franz. I'm always attracted to drummers interviewing. I don't know. It's like a big thing with me, you know?
I don't know, Spence. It's like you said, it's the foundation of a record is the drums. It's where you feel the beat.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
where everything stems from. So yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that though.
So, Thommy, I really enjoyed listening to your album, and one of the things that struck me with it was the song lengths and the song structures and everything being really compact and to the point. That it was really crafted from songwriters who know that 2 minutes 30 seconds, 3 minutes 30 seconds is plenty of time to really make an impact with the writing. And it seems like that sort of goes back then to sort of the roots music that you are mentioning in this interview, where you started with the music from the 60s leading into the 70s. So talk about the songwriting process for you and keeping everything really tight and crisp on the record.
Well, yeah, that's for me at least. I don't like to get really over productive or overthink anything when it comes to writing a song, because then it starts to sound like that. Everything starts to sound too forced. And I've done tons of records where you can tell it's just going to be a song's going to be an album filler, or they need an extra song, so they go home at night and write a quick song, or them are the songs that I'm not really that's not me. Mine are more like I write melodies first. If I get an idea, a melody idea, or even a riff in my head or a lyric, first thing I do is pick up my iPhone, and there's a little app for a memo, and you can say something into it, or you could play something into it, and it stores it forever. Well, my whole memo thing is filled up with ideas and melodies. Like, in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and hum something in my phone. Stephanie will say, "What are you doing?" 4 o'clock in the morning. I must sound like a madman, but it's an idea. Or I'll run in here into my studio and just pick up one of my guitars and just put 5 seconds of an idea. And those are the best songs when you get inspired like that, like right off the bat. And it takes like Tangerine, for instance, that one song on Downtown.
Yeah.
I wrote that song in, I don't know, 15 minutes.
Wow.
It's one of them songs that just kind of spilled out of me. The lyrics, the chords, everything just kind of went right in line.
Right.
And it kind of one of them songs that wrote itself. It just came out. I threw it up.
Right. You have a lifetime of work that leads to that point.
At least 15 minutes.
You know what? Some of the best things I wrote was walking on the streets of New York City.
I bet.
Just the rhythm. No, I mean, just the rhythm of the city. You hear a train, or you hear it's just the cadence of the city sometimes that hits you, or a sound. A cab flying by and somebody saying something, or you go down to the subway and the sound of the tracks. That whole thing.
Sound of the doors.
It's hypnotizing, and I wrote so many songs just walking around the East Village, just in my head, and I just put it in my phone.
Right. Well, I think we're about there. Thommy, what is there anything to talk about that you're working on now, or?
Well, I'm doing a couple of shows with the Cult this week.
Oh, wow.
Where I am working with a band called Broken Things from Austin. And it's Billy Idol's whole guitar player, Mark Younger-Smith. He lives in Austin.
Wow.
And he's got a new record out, and he's opening up for the Cult. We're doing 2 shows with the Cult, one in San Antonio and one in Dallas.
Yeah.
And that's on Sunday and Tuesday, I believe. It's the 1st and the 3rd.
I'm a big The Cult fan. I have their compilation stuff, and
Great band, yeah.
Great
Yeah,
band. They were a great band. Great
They
band.
opened. I know them guys from their first from the Love album because they had supported Billy Idol on the Rebel Yell tour.
Wow.
So I know them from back then.
Great. Wow, that's like a resurgence, right?
Yeah, but I do want to plug my website.
Do it. Tell us about it.
So it's a work site really for me that you can go to and put some, if you want me to play drum, it's a drum work site. So it's set up just for recording remote drums, and it's like 20 mics, big studio. It's not here in my house, but it's from another studio that I do all the sessions from, the bigger sessions. Yeah. Otherwise, I do other work right here in my house. The good people at Electro Voice hooked me up with a bunch of good microphones, so I got to plug them at Electro Voice mics, and then it's at just TommyPrice.com is my site where you can go and find me. And if you're interested in hiring me to do a record, then you can contact me through that.
What about buying the record, your new record? Where can they get that?
Well, there's a website set up, just downtownphantom.com. Mm-hmm. Or I think Reverb Nation has it. Downtownphantom.com.
And thanks. Hey, listen, Thommy, thanks for being on. We love you. Say hello to Steph.
Yeah. I will, Spencer. Nice to see you, Judy.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you.